overview of Chapter 8 that we will be looking at for next week. Chapter 8 is going to be focusing on home and automobile insurance. This is an area where a lot of people try to skimp and save money by not having insurance. Having the very basic insurance. So as you look at this chapter, what I want you to focus on is knowing that if there is something that happens, that you do have coverage and that you don't lose everything you have simply because you tried to save money and didn't have a policy that covered everything that you need. So let's look at the objectives of Chapter 8. The first one is to identify the types of risk and risk management methods and develop a risk management plan. Some of the risks that the book will be talking about are personal risk, property risk, liability risk. Um, for instance, if someone comes to your house and they fall down the stairs, you are going to be financially responsible. And I know you think, well, none of my friends would sue you, but if one of your friends was paralyzed by falling down the steps, they would have to have some medical coverage to help them get back and rehabilitate and different things like that. So there's risk that maybe you don't look at, but different things like that. I know on the main campus, my sister happens to be an insurance agent, and she came and talked to my class about home and car insurance. She spoke mostly about car insurance, telling the people in the class to make sure that they had enough coverage to take care of any kind of an accident, enough to cover for everybody in the car. Also, how the your driving record affects your insurance rating, which affects how much you pay. So those are some things that you want to consider. So when you're thinking about that and you're looking to get insurance on your own, make sure that you evaluate the cost, the risk, and how much money that you would be losing if you didn't have adequate coverage. The second objective of this chapter is to assess the insurance coverage policy types available to homeowners and renters. Now, when you rent a house, you do not have to buy renter's insurance, a condo, apartment, or anything like that. Again, this is where you're going to need to evaluate whether or not you need to have renter's insurance. For instance, just a couple of weeks ago, we had the hurricane, there was flooding, there were power outages for a week at a time. People lost food in the freezers. Their houses were flooded. They lost their personal property, their furniture, their stereo equipment, and if they did not have renter's insurance, nothing was covered. Therefore, if at all possible, and you're going to your furniture, your stereo equipment, your electronics are valuable, your clothes, then you need to have at least the minimum amount of renter's insurance that you can possibly buy. The second one is homeowners policies, and the book goes into depth about the different types of homeowner policies. You want to look at making sure it covers not only your house and your outbuildings, but it also covers any property, personal property inside, and how much it does cover. One thing that you want to know is that um, they estimate how much it would cost to replace your house and your belongings, and that's how they base the amount of coverage that you would need. If you buy a house, you do not have the option of not having house insurance. It is required. If you do not pay cash for your house, you must have insurance on your house and the different buildings and belongings and things like that. Objective 3 is to analyze the factors that influence the amount of coverage and cost of house insurance. One of the major factors is where your house is located. Are you in a high risk area where you might be broken into? You might file numerous claims. Are you in Tornado Alley where a tornado can come through and destroy your property? That makes a big factor. Again, it includes the type of structure. Brick, for solid brick houses, the insurance isn't as great as just a frame wood house because of fire. Brick doesn't catch on fire, but of course stick buildings do. So that is another area that you want to look for. Another thing that you want to look at is replacement cost. Do you have fair replacement cost, or is it prorated? I know one time, several years ago, when we lived in Pickens County, a tornado came through and it took the roof off of our house, and we had replacement cost, which I had, said, oh, we don't need replacement cost, but I sure was glad when the insurance claim came out and, gave us replacement value of everything that we lost. So weigh the cost of that. If it's just a couple of dollars a month, it's well worth your time and that couple of dollars to have replacement cost, because if you bought something 5 years ago, it has steadily increased in value, and it's going to cost you more to replace it than the insurance company would give you for what it's worth with depreciation. Objective 4 is to identify the important types of automobile insurance. You have to know that you have vehicle bodily injury liability, medical payments, and uninsured motorist. And again, that was one area that my sister talked in depth to our my online class, was to make sure that you had enough bodily injury coverage to cover anybody in your car, because once it runs out, then they will sue you personally to take care of any medical coverages that might not be covered under the insurance. And then objective 5 is to evaluate factors that affect the cost of automobile insurance. And this can be the type of vehicle, if it's a brand new vehicle, your driving credit, your driving record, and it also does include whether they look at your credit score. And if you are a high risk on a credit score, sometimes you do have to pay more for vehicle coverage, and this can get to be thousands of dollars. So protect your driving record. Do not speed. Do not drive while drinking. Do not let anyone in the car with you have an open container, even if you are not drinking, because one thing my sister pointed out to my class was that for everybody that has an open container, you get a point off of your record if it is your car. So be careful on that. Make sure that that doesn't happen in your car. So that's just an overview of Chapter 8. This week, again, you have Learn Smart, you have quiz, you have a case study, but more importantly, you do have a midterm exam. It is up, it is available. There is a practice test available for you to practice with before you take the test. Everything, including the midterm, must be submitted by next Sunday night at 11:55. There is no discussion board this week. I let that go since we did have a midterm. So have a great day, and let me know if you have any questions.